morning. Is everybody glad it's Friday?
Yes, absolutely.
Alright, so for our PLC today, I just wanted to meet with you all and go over something that I'm doing for a class that I have. And we had to do a PLC project. And, you know, I'm nervous. I hate talking in front of people, but we'll get through it and hopefully y'all can learn a lot from what I've experienced and what I've learned myself. The first slide, I have a PowerPoint we're going to watch. And what I chose to do was interactive read-alouds. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with it. If you are, maybe you can give me some more input on what I can do, or maybe I can teach you something that you can try in your room. So here's the table of contents. We've got 12 slides altogether, so it should be short and sweet. And our agenda, I'll let you look over it. I've already gave you the slides for you to view yourselves. And I'm not going to read it word for word. But I had to start with the vision statement. And my vision statement says that as a teacher leader, I want to have a safe and welcoming environment that will meet the needs of all diverse learners. I strive to teach and reach those that are struggling and lack the essentials to becoming great readers. As an educator, I work closely with those around me, which is all of you that have helped me quite a bit, to ensure that my students' needs are met and that our classrooms are forever changing to meet the needs of our students. Students are provided with different strategies, different activities, background knowledge, and opportunities to help build on new knowledge that they learn to become successful readers, as well as writers and mathematicians. I will strive to be the leader who works hard for my students to ensure their success, especially in the area of reading, which I feel is my biggest struggle in my classroom. That's why I chose the reading. So to start this off, think about interactive read-alouds. What do you know about interactive read-alouds? Each of you have some sticky notes, and I want you to write K at the top corner and just put something that you know about interactive read-alouds. What do you think of when you hear that word? And when you're finished, you can just take and put it on the chart. We'll come back to all these. Now I want you to take another sticky note and write something you want to know about interactive read-alouds, whether you know a lot about it, whether you don't know anything about it. Just tell me something you would want to know about read-alouds, interactive read-alouds. To discuss them, but we will come back to what you know and what you want to know at the end. But I wanted to start out with what is an interactive read-aloud. An interactive read-aloud is a literacy strategy in which children actively engage in listening and talking about the text during the duration of the read-aloud. So instead of us just, I know a lot of times in our reading program, I get caught up in a story and I don't want to stop, I don't want to pause. I just want to read the book, go over what I need to go over, and be done with it. But with interactive read-alouds, it allows the students to become more engaged, more involved, and it really lets the teacher step back and let her students do the teaching. So, has any of you all ever seen an interactive read-aloud? You haven't? Okay, well, the next slide is a video, or no, well, sorry, what it is, what it isn't. I skipped a step. But, what an interactive read aloud is a teacher carefully choosing and planning a read aloud in order to help students. It reinforces and practices the reading skills. It's a time when the teacher models reading skills and fluency, and a time when students participate in partnership, or they set a book club. But the thing I like more is the way that the kids are involved with each other, the class discussions that it brings. Instead of the teacher picking sticks and saying, what is your thoughts on it, they're getting to communicate with their classmates on what their thoughts about the book may be. What it isn't is just a teacher picking a book because it's coming out in the movie theater. Let's say, hey, let's read this book because you're going to go watch this movie, I'm sure. A time for students to cool down. I'd seen several years back after lunch, a classroom would just sit down and listen to Fancy Nancy books or Junie B. Jones books. And it was a time where it was story time. It wasn't them interacting and working together to actually learn something from the story they was reading. A text chosen solely for content or engagement. That's not our purpose. Our purpose is to teach them, to let them learn, to be able to comprehend, to infer on what they're seeing or hearing from the teacher reading. And the teacher does all the work. It's not what we want. We want our students involved and doing more than the teacher, truthfully. So, but I've chosen a video that we're going to watch, and this will give you a better idea as to what a read aloud looks like in an actual classroom. So here she's telling them, what are you wondering? Just by looking at the title. What are you wondering?
So he is wondering these things because we've looked at our vocabulary, our words that are going to be in our story. So he's making the connection from our words to the story. So he's wondering, are these animals? Now, good readers don't only question them before we read, we also question while we read. So we'll ask the
Before, during, and also after. So it gets them involved throughout the whole thing.
see a lot of our characters in our story. And in our story, our characters are going to be feeling a ton of different ways. We can infer how a character is feeling 3 different ways. We can infer how a character is feeling. Everyone, back what they say and how they act.
And I love how they mimic what she does, and they say it all
All of
together.
these characters are feeling that in the story. And there's a lot of them. So we will be seeing how they are feeling. Okay? Now remember, when we infer how a character is feeling, we have our posters up here, our inferring posters, okay? We have our confused emoji, our sad, excited, surprised, happy, and angry. And remember, we have a lot of things on there. We have a lot of synonyms that mean the same for those feelings. And we have some actions that show when a character is feeling a certain way. Okay? So let's get into our story and let's infer how our character is. Mr. Jock, rumbled, he mumbled, he flip-flopped and fumbled. He is not just furious, he is fuming. Fuming would be another word to say someone is really angry. I see you guys, this is what we do. Here we are going to add the word fuming to angry, because if someone is really, really mad, we might say they are peace and quiet. It was gone. Turn it top, infer. How is Mr. Duck feeling?
I'm going to pause it. And that is available to you on the PowerPoint. That way you can come back and watch the rest of it if you would like. what are some of your thoughts on that video? What do you think?
They were listening.
Mm-hmm. They were engaged, they were involved.
And their eyes were there on the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
They need the steps to follow, she wants to know everything that's at the time, so that makes every time they do a story, they listen to that kind of thing, and try to think about that.
The next slide is some articles that I'd found that backs up the things that I've tried in my classroom, what I found works, what didn't work. So you can always go back and look at them. I'll give y'all the link for them. The PLC project, when I first started this project, I had to come up with a problem. What problem is my students facing? What do I need to fix in my classroom? And the problem I said was in my classroom, I had students struggling with reading skills and strategies. They struggle identifying key concepts from the text and are unable to infer, predict, as well as comprehend what we are reading. So a lot of times on the lesson assessments, we were seeing that, hey, our students aren't getting this because, you know, maybe they're not comprehending the story clearly, or maybe they're not understanding the vocabulary of the story. We're not going more in depth and involving them more in the learning. The strategy that I come up with was my students will improve their reading skills and strategies by participating in interactive read-alouds. The read-alouds will allow students to stop and think before, during, and after the reading is complete. Students will be able to infer, make prediction, and use comprehension skills to understand a text and apply their knowledge to real-world situations. The plan was I will implement the 6 steps for teaching a successful interactive read-aloud, and will give my students opportunities to stop and discuss, stop and jot, stop and write things down, and use sign language to communicate their learnings. The next slide shows some of the data that I've collected. We used our lesson assessments for our reading program, and I found that student 1, he was between the 60s and 70s, low 70 student. The next week that we took the test, he grew above the 80s, and with each week they're all increasing. So I see that even though it's been 2 weeks, we can still see a big change in their assessments and their Friday quizzes. The reflection, with just a few weeks that we've used the interactive read-alouds, I found that my students are growing. I'm seeing that it is working. The more involved they are, the more engaged they are, and the more they learn. Although it's been a very short time, I'm able to see that they're improving their reading skills and strategies, and I plan to continue incorporating interactive read-alouds daily and involve my students in their learning to make it more engaging. So for my next steps, I plan just to keep trying the read-alouds, getting them involved, letting them talk more, discuss more, and seeing how that goes. So as our PLC comes to a close, I want you to write one thing on a sticky note that you learned. Is there something you would like to try or going to try? As you're finishing them up, I just want to say thank you so much for letting me present this to you, and hopefully you've learned something, or maybe we can keep learning together and have success for all of our kids. So,
Thank you.
thank you.